all, this is an important cause for all of us, and I got involved because I love animals, I love dogs, I love bullies, and I believe in justice. So what I had previously said is that when I'm asked to speak in public, what I usually do is I find a quote that I love, and I try to find a way to relate it to what I'm speaking about. It's a central premise or a central point, which highlights the entire premise of what I'm about to say. And in this instance, Martin Luther King actually said it best. And I believe that all of you can appreciate how much it applies to this situation, to PSL in Ontario, to Plea. And the quote goes that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And that is true, because in this instance, we're affected, and an innocent dog, a family that loves the dog, and many owners of good dogs have been suffering under this archaic and ridiculous law for 16 years. So I'm going to try and read and be close, okay? I'm not very good at that, so if you can't hear me again, just let me know. Louder? More louder? Okay, listen, I can shout it. Okay, I'll be... I like my little backup crew here. Okay, I'm not going to yell, because that's rude. Okay, so what we have done is I talked to Tommy yesterday, and we put together a little update, because everyone, I think, knows the story, but it hasn't been made public sort of following days what's been happening. So we're going to be providing an update on Blue. Blue's an American bully puppy, a puppy with no history of aggression or any inherent risk to public safety. A puppy who has been held under prejudicial circumstances by Vaughan Animal Services and their city bound since October 8th, 2021. It's very important for all of us, and especially on behalf of the Chang family, to extend a tremendous and heartfelt thank you to the tens of thousands of supporters from all corners of our province, our country, and international. We want to thank you for your relentless pursuit of justice and for rallying together to demand the release of an innocent family member. The gross misuse of power by the City of Vaughan and VAS has further amplified the immediate need to repeal Ontario's archaic and ineffective breed-specific legislation. The situation with Blue has just recently exposed Tommy, Melissa, and their family to how truly devastating, unfair, and nonsensical this legislation truly is. But this fight is certainly not new. And that is why it is so critical for all of us to acknowledge the advocates who have been on the front lines of this fight for the past 16 years, and who step up and provide their support and resources each and every time a family is impacted. So thank you, hats off to Hershey's Group, to Ottawa Citizens Against BSL, to Lynn Poirier from RAW, and from everyone who keeps fighting this fight. They've never, they do this all the time. They've been doing this for years. We tend to unite in a particular situation. It is also important to thank Honorable David Piccini and Rick Nichols. I call them the people's politicians. They have challenged the status quo and championed change, and they deserve tremendous recognition. It is also of importance to acknowledge the Honorable Premier Doug Ford, who has actually personally reached out to his constituents and the Chang family on numerous occasions. The fact that he took the time, it can't be left unsaid, because I'm sure he's busy. There's a lot of other protests and things that he has to worry about, but he did take the time out of his day to call, to ask questions, and to try to understand. Sorry, I'm getting a little folded here. It is our belief that Mr. Ford has heard and understood how deeply this issue is affecting our communities, and for that we thank him. With a majority of our provincial MPPs voicing their support for breed-neutral legislation, which focuses on responsible ownership, it brings into question the City of Vaughan and VAS's insistence to reference back to their responsibility in not only enforcing provincial legislation, but in rewriting its provisions as the basis for holding Blue and many other dogs that look like Blue. Sorry, I was complaining that my hand is hurting. I'm a complainer. It's okay. Yeah, louder? Okay, jeez. Yeah, louder. Okay. I don't know. I mean, don't encourage me. I'll never leave. The United Front, bound by voiceless, is still needed to ensure that real change is implemented. And that Blue and his family are the last ones subjected to his cruelty. With this, we're going to provide an abbreviated update on the fight for Blue's freedom. It has now been 22 days since Vass took possession of Blue. In these long 22 days, Vass has not extended the Chang family even the basic courtesy of an update on Blue's physical and emotional well-being. The mayor of Vaughan has been silent on the issue. He has not released a public statement, nor has he made any attempt to privately reach out to the Chang family, who are members of his own constituency. The only acknowledgement he has provided thus far is through his public social media platform, in which numerous constituents and Ontarios have been blocked. And Tommy's right, so technically he's not allowed to do that. So if you're from Vaughan, and if you've been blocked, contact us, we'll sue him. The mayor of Ottawa got sued. His name? How do you pronounce it? Maurizio Bevilacqua. Maurizio Bevilacqua. The only acknowledgement he has provided thus far is through his public social media platform, in which numerous constituents and Ontarians have been blocked. And most of the comments they have made requesting action, or in the very least a comment, acknowledgement of the situation, get deleted as quickly as they're made. It's actually a running joke now. We're trying to make it a full-time job for somebody to keep deleting the comments. And amazingly, people haven't been rude. People have been quite factual and polite. They're just asking. I understand if they were, deleting rude comments, but it wasn't rude. It's just factual and asking for an acknowledgement of the situation at the very least. Vaughan Animal Services is continuing to operate outside of their mission statement and have been unnecessarily cruel in their conduct. The compassion that we would expect from our public servants, specifically those entrusted with the care of vulnerable sectors such as animals, has been non-existent. Communication has been clinical and full of legal jargon, not once acknowledging that a living, breathing, and a very much loved member of someone's family is at the center of this all. Vass has self-assigned itself the authority to redefine the definitions under the current DOLA provisions, despite not having any legal or professional credentials or designations to do so. So I wrote this out, and maybe I can, explain it better than reading it out, and then I can do the statement. So Vass is not contesting the fact that Blue meets the definitively correct definition of what an American bully is, which is great. But what they are saying is that because he fits what they believe to be a definitively correct description of an American bully, he is therefore subject to DOLA. They have created, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And, I wrote it out in the way that it was written, so it might be a little complex, but that's the entire premise, is that it doesn't matter that he has no history, it doesn't matter that he is a kind and loving dog. They just care that he looks like an American bully. And therefore, yes, he falls under the PSL provisions under DOLA, and he has to leave. He has to be out of province with strangers or whatever else. So I'll read what we wrote, but that is the central message, is that we don't even understand how they have the authority to rewrite a provincial piece of legislature. So Vass is not contesting that Blue is phenotypically or looks similar to an American bully. But it is their claim that they can make it a challengeable determination that as an American bully, he is substantially similar to a banned breed under DOLA, and therefore subject to these PSL provisions. This additionally provides them with the authority to adopt Blue out of province to strangers, that's the best case scenario, or order him destroyed at worst. This is not an exaggeration. This was communicated by Vass through their legal counsel. Vass was furnished with evidence in support of Blue not being subject to the PSL provisions by two of his veterinarians. delicate. It's okay. Where was it? Okay, so Vaughan was furnished with evidence in support of Blue not being subject to the BSL provisions by two of his veterinarians, as well as the provision of registration documents from the United Kennel Club. Either one of these submissions should have satisfied Vaughan's inquiry under the current DOLA BSL provisions and resulted in Blue's release. Vaughan deemed that the furnished evidence to be unsatisfactory and that they will continue holding Blue. Vaughan maintains their position that they are not challenging that Blue phenotypically fits the American Bully standard. However, as an American Bully, they have unilaterally concluded that he falls under the current DOLA provisions of a banned breed. It's a paradoxical position, and I just hope that you guys can understand the trap that they have set for Blue, for his family, that it doesn't matter. It's their opinion, and no one can challenge it, that he is banned in Ontario. So what we have done is we have requested from VAS the professional designations and credentials of their personnel, which grant them the expertise and the authority to both challenge and disagree with the evidence, but to no avail. They've provided us with nothing. It is important to note that on July 15, 2013, the United Kennel Club officially designated the American Bully as a separate and distinct breed of dog. This was a whole 8 years after the BSL provision under DOLA came into effect. The United Kennel Club is a valid dog breed registration agency and is recognized as such by DOLA. Yet somehow, VAS has only referenced the EKC and the CKC as the registries of reference. So they're not even accepting UKC as a valid registry of reference. Most recently, when did you guys get the letter from the expert? Was it like midweek? So midweek, VAS has been furnished with a detailed expert opinion, which further supports and expands on the previous submission. The opinion letter was written by a preeminent expert with 23 years of experience, who has been involved in many aspects of canine knowledge, ranging from aggressive behavior, dog-brain neurochemistry, canine learning, and identifying both the physical and behavioral traits of dog breeds. In fact, he's such an expert that the Ontario's chief coroner designated this individual as an expert in canine behavior. Additionally, his expertise and in-depth knowledge on the subject matter is sought after for numerous dog-related court cases in Ontario provincial and superior courts. We really hope that this expert is listened to, and he provided an extremely thorough, it was extremely well written, it was evidence-based, and his opinion agreed basically with everything that has been provided thus far. It just expanded on the definitions. We hope that VAS will deem this expert's testimony and opinion to be satisfactory, and that it will result in the immediate release of Blue. So one of the things that we have been doing is that VAS keeps quoting that they're acting within their authority, that everything that they're doing is okay. So we said, that's great, show us, give us your documents, prove to us that you are in fact acting within your authority, that you're not changing rules. And I think that, I personally requested it, I know many others have as well. So we have requested copies of the procedural and operational guides that they continuously reference in their correspondence to the Chang family and their legal counsel. So, for example, VAS maintains that owner's consent is not required for a DNA test to be performed. That may be true. And suggests that if clarity is required on why they have this authority, then the internal city processes should be referenced. To put this into perspective, according to VAS, they will use the DNA test results to support VAS's determination that Blue is substantially similar to the banned breed set out in DOLA. When asked for those processes, considering how critical this matter is and what it can result in, they invite us to make a formal Freedom of Information request with the city. The FOI process takes a minimum of 30 days if the request is approved. long as, I don't know, 60 days, 90 days, maybe never, for it to be released. They're trying to block every path everyone is taking and getting at least some clarity and understanding. So the other thing is that most towns and counties across Ontario have moved away from seizing, destroying, and relocating dogs based on their appearance alone. Vaughan, on the other hand, has a history of making these matters unnecessarily difficult, litigious, and personal in nature. And most families, you know, they're forced to give up. They just don't know how to fight any longer. They don't want their animals sitting in an animal shelter for 6 months, 8 months. It's not fair to the dogs, so they give up. They give up, and their dogs get, you know, shipped out of province, adopted out, and again, for nothing more than looking the way they look. I understand punishing action. I don't understand punishing somebody or a dog specifically just of the way it looks. There are good dogs and bad dogs. It's not based on their appearance. So a lot of these people have lost hope, but not this time. And I think that everyone's voices have been super loud. And I think that this time we all have to collectively say, enough is enough. We're not going to keep backing down. We're not going to keep giving up. We're not going to let the next family go through this. It's not fair. It's not fair. A lot of people don't even know that they can get this much support and so many people coming out for them. So I'm going to end this with, we are evolving as a society. We are taught to judge others based on character and actions, not their appearance, not their race, not their creed, not on anything other than who they are as individuals. This should be an all-encompassing doctrine, and we hope the importance of this message resonates. Thank you. I'm sorry I was very long. I appreciate your audience, and free blue.